Welcome back. As you know, moving forward quite often requires that we take a look at our past experiences and see how they have affected our present reality, which therefore will affect our future reality. So looking back is important, even though that is not what we focus on all the time. We really focus on what's the next step, what's my next goal. There is you can only get so far with that without really addressing the things that were in the past, and sometimes deep in the all the way back to childhood. So I want to take some time today for you to reflect on some things that maybe you learned as a child that helped form, not helped, that formed your personality and your character traits, the good ones and the bad ones. Like there is a quantifiable way to do this. So I'm going to teach you about your human rights that you were given as a child, because they affect all of that head trash that we are trying to dig out and get rid of. So the more we understand about ourselves and why we are the way we are, the easier it will be to pinpoint those things and say, this wasn't true. This is something I can change. So that's why I'm giving you this tooltip. So your human rights, these are things that you were taught as a child. You were given these rights by your family, by your parents, by your siblings. You were given these rights, and they formed how you see the world, the entire world, how you see yourself, and how you present in the world as an adult. The first of these rights is the right to be, the right to exist. And obviously, your parents didn't cut off your existence because you're still standing here alive today. But if your parents loved you very conditionally, if your parents didn't make you feel like you were something special, you were of value, no matter what your decisions, no matter what your opinions, if their love was conditional, then they took your right to be away from you. So your right to be is the right to be yourself. If you have a strong right to be, you tend to have better self-confidence, better self-esteem. It is easier for you to bounce back from things. Your resilience is higher. If you have a weak right to be, you're pretty hostile. Like you may be pretty cold and not feel like you have the right. And if you don't feel like you have the right to be yourself, it's understandable why you might be a little hostile toward the world. The second one is the right to need. And another word for that is dependence. So the right to depend on others, the right to need. And this is strong in you. You were given the right to need when you weren't made to feel bad for needing as a child. For example, separation anxiety. If you were punished for crying when your parents left, or made to feel or shamed, or made to feel like you were wrong for being sad about things, or if you were told to suck it up, that sort of thing as a child, those kind of things take away your right to need, and then you feel like you have to take care of yourself. So you grow up taking care of your own needs emotionally, which to the person that is this way, they feel like they've just been strong and they don't need other people, and other people are so weak. But when you get down to it, those people are very, very lonely and have trouble letting people in. So the right to need is very important. The right to be able to ask for help is very, very important, especially when you're going through difficult times. So you want to go from feeling like I don't need anyone to needing someone is not needy. Like needy, I'm not needy. I can express when I have an emotional need, but that doesn't make me needy or weak or anything like that. So the right to need, very important. The right to be autonomous is almost the opposite. It's the right to independence and strength. And this was encouraged in you as a child if you were recognized for your individual strengths. So if you were guided to understand the world as something you could control in your own way, if you were given the the right to make your own decisions, whether they were bad ones or good ones. If you were allowed to make those decisions on your own, you developed a strong right to independence or be autonomous. This is really important because it's how we develop. It's how we keep. It's how we stay creative. It's how we keep moving life forward. If you have a weaker right to be autonomous, you have a strong feeling that things are just the way they are, and that's the way you have to be, and you're powerless, and you have no control over your own life. The next human right we're going to talk about is the right to assert yourself, or the right to have a voice. And you are given the right to assert yourself if you are encouraged in your family to speak up, even if you disagreed with the adults. You were treated as a member of the family and not just a child. You developed this if you felt like you had that, like your voice mattered in the family unit. So of course, respect is important, but as long as you were allowed to speak up if you disagreed with something, or even if it was an adult, even if it was a parent, if you disagreed with something, you could say so safely. If you felt as a child that you couldn't speak up without getting in trouble, or you couldn't, say anything because you didn't want to set someone off, then you learned at a very young age passive aggressive behavior. Passive behavior usually comes from not feeling safe to speak your truth to those that love you. So anyway, that's the right to assert yourself, or the right to have a voice. The fifth human right is the right to sexuality. And this is a big one because it affects our ability to love fully and completely and accept love fully and completely. It affects a whole lot more. I mean, it can affect all of the other rights, really. It's not always easy to identify that we are lacking in this right because we have learned to have sex in our relationships, and it's rare that we don't ever experience that. So look at it a little bit differently. Look at it as a right to your femininity or your masculinity. If you were loved unconditionally for who you are, for the gender that you are, and your gender was honored and not shamed or preferred or not preferred or anything like that, then you and your parents were able to speak to you frankly about your organs and your body, and you had a good understanding and were not ashamed of asking questions. You could ask questions and know that the answers would come openly and honestly. But if you were taught to appreciate your sexual self, regardless of your identity, like if you were taught to honor your identity, even if it's not the gender you were born with, if you never felt suppressed, if you were not shamed for certain parts of your body, like if you have large breasts or a big booty or whatever, and you were honored for that and not ever made to feel like you were bad or that you needed to hide or things like that. So those are ways you can take away the right to a person's sexuality, because that person has to learn to live in their own body and become a sexual being. So the more shame we put on someone, on a child especially, let's see, I lost my thought. The more shame we put on a child regarding their bodies and how they see themselves and what they need to do in the world in order to be acceptable, the harder it's going to be for them to accept love and be loved. And it's going to turn into something very unhealthy.
I want to share with you a video that came out a few years ago that addresses this exact thing in our society today. So this might give you another perspective on what it means to have a right to your own sexuality.
Hi, Erin.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm gonna just give you some actions to do. I just do the first thing that comes to mind. Show me what it looks like to run like a girl.
My hair. Oh my God.
Show me what it looks like to fight like a girl. Now throw like a girl.
Aww. My name is Dakota, and I'm 10 years old.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. Throw like a girl. Fight like a girl. What does it mean to you when I say run like a girl?
It means run fast as you can.
So do you think you just insulted your sister?
No. I mean, yeah, insulted girls, but not my sister.
Is like a girl a good thing?
Actually, don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing. It sounds like a bad thing. It sounds like you're trying to humiliate someone.
So when they're in that vulnerable time between 10 and 12, how do you think it affects them when somebody uses like a girl as an insult?
I think it definitely drops their self-confidence and really puts them down, because during that time they're already trying to figure themselves out, and when somebody says you hit like a girl, it's like, well, what does that mean? Because they think they're a strong person. It's kind of like telling them that they're weak and they're not as good as them.
And what advice do you have to young girls who are told they run like a girl, kick like a girl, hit like a girl, swing like a girl?
Keep doing it, because it's working. If somebody else says that running like a girl or kicking like a girl or shooting like a girl is something that you shouldn't be doing, that's their problem. Because if you're still scoring and you're still getting to the ball on time and you're still being first, you're doing it right. Doesn't matter what they say. I mean, yes, I kick like a girl and I swim like a girl and I walk like a girl and I wake up in the morning like a girl because I am a girl. And that is not something that I should be ashamed of. So I'm gonna do it anyway. That's what they should do.
If I asked you to run like a girl now, would you do it differently?
I would run like myself.
Would you like a chance to redo it?
Yeah.
Why can't run like a girl also mean win the race?
That is exactly how our right to sexuality is taken away. And it's not just women. We also do it to our little boys, and we tell them, man up and take it like a man, and man to man conversation. Like it's always about being tough. It's always about not showing emotion or being stronger, or not letting things get to you. And that results in negative consequences later in life as well. These are ways we strip our children of the right to sexuality. And if this was strong in your household, then it is very possible that you were not made to feel good about being a woman. It's very, very important, because when we are grounded in who we are, when we are grounded in our sexual beings, in our sexual selves, in our femininity or our masculinity, that makes us stronger people in everything. If you are not comfortable in your own skin, it shows in every way. Being comfortable in your own skin means I'm a woman and I am a successful woman, and I'm not the exception. This is just who I am. It comes across very differently than I am successful in spite of the fact that I'm a woman, or being a woman is a dangerous thing to be because men only want me for my body, that sort of thing. So it affects affects us in insidious ways. So that is your lesson on the rights that you were given as a child, your human rights. And I want you to do some self-reflection about these. Share in the comments what you believe was your strongest and what you believe was your weakest, what you'd like to work on in the future. And And let's continue this conversation in our group calls. If you get to this lesson and you are stuck on it, bring it up, because this is something we need to talk about often. Thank you for your attention, and I will talk to you next time.